Muddy mixes are a common problem whether you record in a great studio or in your basement. Two reasons for that are, number one, instruments are usually tuned to A, which is equal to 440 Hertz. So a lot of notes have harmonies in the 250 to 500 Hertz frequency range. Also, close miking instruments, a common modern recording technique, creates a proximity effect. When you combine a bunch of close mic'd instrument tracks, you get mud. So here are some tips to shovel the digital mud out of your mixes. This applies to both recorded material and if you're running live sound. Alright, this is a project that I've only done levels for, as you see down here. All I've done is move the faders on each channel. On my master track, I've raised the volume by 14 decibels, and I also have a brick wall limiter on. Alright, so each channel only has a clean EQ, which is the EQ built into Reaper called RealEQ, and I've gone through each one of these and made adjustments. I've only made two adjustments, which is a high pass filter, also called a low cut filter, but most of the time they are called high pass filters. I also have a parametric band set at the frequency range where I thought sounded best, and then I also reduced the gain. I cut, this is right in the muddy frequency range, and I changed my Q factor or my bandwidth to the appropriate range so that I'm really not reducing the tonality of the track. So I did this for every single channel. Everything's a little bit different depending on the instrument. You know, for bass instruments, I'm not really going to cut that low. I believe on the bass guitar I did about 40 Hertz. And the kick drum I did 40 Hertz as well. And I think the vocal I actually tore apart. Yeah, I got pretty high on that one. No, I didn't. I only went up to 100 on that one. I actually probably could have went higher because this is a female vocalist. But I chose not to. Oh, I know where I went really high, on drum overheads. Yeah, look how high up I went on there. And that's because I'd prefer to have the sound mostly from the close mics, not from the overheads. The overheads I really want to use just for cymbal mics. Actually, let me just play this track for you without any of this on. As you can see, all the FX are disabled. They're red, so they're disabled at the moment. Again, I have no other effects on, no compression. It was not recorded with compression. So it sounds nasty right now. But you can hear the potential. So what I'm going to do, really simply, I'm just going to enable the FX so that my mud is reduced and my high pass filters are engaged. Immediately you can hear the tracks sound a little bit more separated. They sound definitely more clear. Let me just A/B this while it plays. if you can't hear the difference, I would definitely recommend putting on headphones. You can really hear the difference with headphones on. So what I'm going to do... Oh, I forgot to mention one other thing. I could have, if I so decided, added a low pass filter onto the end of this. Right now it's on a high shelf, which, you know what? You can do either or. If you don't want to have a high cut, or I'm sorry, a high pass filter on the beginning of here, you can actually change this to a low shelf. But I just like to cut things anyway, so it's up to you really. So I'm going, my option could have been to put a low pass on here. It's a bass instrument, you know, I'll solo it. You know, it doesn't need to have a lot of high frequencies. High frequencies just clutter up the mix. Kick drum could also use that as well. And the cool thing is, on the kick drum at least, you can get rid of a lot of the mic bleed. Hear how that gets rid of the cymbals? Doesn't entirely get rid of them, but anyway, I'm going to export this track now, and you'll notice that down here I have some sync tone just to show you later on that, you know, we're getting sync. I basically just have a simple filter on here in case there's any issues with latency with the plugins. I don't think there is. But I just had this here, and it's a 15 kilohertz tone. Ow. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to render this out, and I'll be back with you in a second. Alright, now that the mixes are rendered out, I'm going to import them. And check sync. That looks pretty good to me. So basically what I'm going to do here is called a null test. A null test reveals what the difference between two files or two tracks is. It's something that basically if both of these tracks were the same, and actually what I'll do is I'm going to duplicate this track just to show you what I mean. Okay, so now we have two mud tracks, two top tracks. I'm going to mute this track. Right now, if I solo this track, we just have a regular file. If I solo this track, same exact thing. However, if I change the phase of this track, watch what happens. You can't hear them anymore. They null each other out. They cancel each other out. So I'm going to delete this track now and bring this one back in and change the phase of this track. Now what you're going to hear is the difference between these two tracks. And I'll bring up span just to show you what's going on. And here we go. Notice what's going on down on the master channel meter, how much energy is coming through, even though these are muffled frequencies. See, when you get rid of mud in your mixes, it really opens up the headroom while you're mixing so that, your compression doesn't compress and get fooled by, you're thinking, oh, I'm getting all this gain reduction, but it's mostly bass frequencies. Bass frequencies take up a lot more energy, at least on the meters, and it's not really audible stuff a lot of times. And I mean, just listen to the mud that very simple task got rid of. Now you're hearing a lot of the overheads that I got rid of, a good amount of snare and kick in that. So don't be fooled by that. I honestly wanted to get rid of that. When I mixed this song for real, I got rid of everything but the cymbals for good reason. Just a lot of mud that eats up the meters, eats up your headroom. You get rid of it, and life is good. It really is amazing how much the tracks sound separated, which is a good thing, just by doing this simple task. Getting rid of that mud, getting rid of that low-end rumble that you don't need. Simple as that. This has been Adam for RealHomeRecording.com. If you'd like the video, please click the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video.